Part 1. My name is James Holloway, 36 years old, logistics coordinator for a major supply chain firm. Not a flashy job, but it paid well and came with predictable hours most of the time. Stability. That's what I built my life around. Rachel and I had been married for 8 years. We met in college, bonded over terrible cafeteria coffee and a shared hatred for group projects. She became my anchor when my father passed unexpectedly during my junior year. Back then, Rachel was warm, sharp-witted, with a smile that could defuse the worst days. She listened. She cared. We built a quiet life together in Cedar Grove, a suburban neighborhood where people waved but didn't pry. Our house wasn't the biggest on the block, but it was ours. 3 bedrooms, a neatly trimmed lawn, and a backyard that I'd landscaped myself. Our friends called us the steady couple. No drama. No chaos. Just 2 people rowing the same boat. That's how it looked from the outside. It began small. The kind of changes you notice but wave off because they seem harmless. Rachel started working later. She taught 2nd grade at Willowbrook Elementary, a job she once adored for its structure and simplicity. But around February of last year, the staff meetings began to run over. Then it was curriculum revisions. I'd wait up with dinner. She'd text around 7, then 8, sometimes later. Don't wait up. Love. Big day tomorrow. Love. She still used the word. That counted for something, didn't it? Soon, she signed up for a new gym across town. The one near the mall, she said. Better equipment. Better classes. Twice a week at first. Then 4 times. By summer, it was nearly every evening. She bought sleek new athletic wear, pieces she never wore around the house. I just want to feel healthier, Rachel told me, adjusting the strap of her new designer gym bag. For us. For the future. I wanted to believe it. But the future she spoke of felt increasingly distant. There were other things. She started taking longer showers. I used to joke that her 5-minute rinse could beat any man's. Now she'd be in there 20, 30 minutes. The door locked. Her phone always on the counter, face down. I noticed how she dressed when running simple errands. A quick grocery trip would now see her wearing fitted tops, hairstyled, makeup applied with a precision usually reserved for our rare date nights. Once, she caught me watching her lace up a pair of heels for a hardware store run. These old things, she'd said, laughing. I just like to look put together. Put together. For who? My gut began to tighten more frequently. Little things set it off. A whiff of cologne that wasn't mine lingering on her scarf. A voice message she silenced the second I walked into the room. Sudden trips out of town for teacher development conferences. I'm not a suspicious man by nature. But the math wasn't adding up. My logical mind started cataloging each instance, the way I would inventory freight at work. Small discrepancies. A pattern forming. One night in September, I came home early. A warehouse fire had delayed a shipment and bought me a rare free evening. I thought I'd surprise Rachel with takeout from her favorite sushi place. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Rachel wasn't in the kitchen. Not in the living room. Her gym bag was gone. No note. No text. I set the sushi down and noticed her tablet on the dining table, unlocked. I hesitated. We respected each other's privacy. Always had. But something made me glance at the screen. It was open to an email. A draft. Unsaved. Thursday. Same place? Let me know if she'll be out of town again. No name. No subject line. Just that. My breath caught in my throat. The cursor blinked at me like a metronome counting down the end of something. When Rachel returned an hour later, she was flushed. Not from the gym, but something else. Her eyes widened slightly when she saw the sushi, then quickly masked whatever thought had crossed her mind. You didn't have to do that, she said, kissing my cheek too quickly. I already grabbed a smoothie. I didn't mention the email. Not then. Fear held my tongue, the fear that once spoken, whatever fragile version of our marriage still existed would collapse. Instead, I smiled. Ate cold sushi. Listened to her ramble about a new reading initiative at work while my mind raced. That night, as she slept beside me, curled under the covers like she always had, I stared at the ceiling for hours. Trust is a funny thing. You don't notice when it starts to crack, but you feel it, the hairline fracture spreading slowly beneath the surface. By morning, I knew one thing. If I wanted to know the truth, I couldn't keep pretending. And neither could she. Part 2. The morning after that silent, sleepless night, something shifted in me. A quiet but firm decision. I wasn't going to confront Rachel yet. Not directly. Not until I had more than a cryptic email draft and a gut full of suspicions. I spent the next few days watching. Listening. Noticing. That's when the other small things started falling into place. Her phone habits had changed. Rachel had always been the type to leave her phone charging on the kitchen counter overnight, sometimes even forgetting it in the car. Now it was glued to her side, locked with a passcode I didn't know. Even during dinner, if it buzzed, she'd glance down and swipe it into silence before I could see the screen. And when she wasn't on her phone, she was on her laptop, always browsing things she claimed were for school projects, lesson plans, classroom supplies, education podcasts. Once, when she went to shower, she left her laptop open but locked. The browser history cleared. Rachel never cleared her history before. Then came the financial anomalies. We had a joint checking account for household expenses. Groceries, gas, date nights. It usually hovered around the same balance each month. I noticed $300 missing one Friday, then $500 the following week. Just some things for the classroom, she said, brushing it off when I asked. I'll submit a reimbursement. Receipts. I left them at school. The next Saturday, while she was at a teacher's brunch, I checked our online statements. A spa charge in Ashton Hills. A boutique hotel reservation. Several charges from upscale clothing stores I knew she never shopped at before. I screenshotted everything. Saved it all to a USB drive I kept hidden in the garage. When I asked Rachel about the hotel charge, she didn't miss a beat. Oh, that? It was for a coworker's bridal shower. I covered the room, and everyone paid me back. I thought I mentioned it. She hadn't. And her tone made it clear she thought this explanation should end the conversation. You really need to stop worrying so much, James, she added, her smile tight, almost pitying. It's making you paranoid. Paranoid. The word again. Like a slap. 2 weeks later, I found something that couldn't be rationalized away. I was taking out the trash when I spotted a small, shiny rectangle glinting in the kitchen garbage. I fished it out, an unfamiliar gold credit card. Not in her name. Not in mine. Rachel's initials weren't on it, but the billing address matched ours. That same night, I checked the scent on one of her scarves she'd tossed on the bed. It smelled faintly of something musky and sharp, a men's cologne I didn't own. When she came out of the bathroom, I asked as casually as I could, "Did you change perfumes?" She blinked. No. Why? Just thought I smelled something different. You're imagining things. She smiled sweetly, brushing past me. Maybe the laundry detergent. You know they changed the formula. Imagining things. Again, I wasn't imagining that the scent didn't wash out after 2 cycles in the machine. The first direct confrontation came the following Sunday. We were clearing out old holiday decorations from the attic when Rachel's phone buzzed loudly on the workbench. She was across the room, arms full of tangled Christmas lights. A text preview flashed. Let me know if Friday is still on. No name. No context. I picked up the phone instinctively. Before I could read more, Rachel snatched it from my hand. James, you can't just grab my phone. You left it buzzing. That's not the point. She shoved it into her back pocket, face flushing red. You're invading my privacy. I'm your husband, and I'm not hiding anything. I stared at her. Then who's asking about Friday? She froze for half a second. It was the briefest of pauses, but it was enough. A colleague, she said finally. We're planning a field trip for the kids. You really need to trust me more. Trust me more. The same phrase her mother used when Rachel's father disappeared for 3 weeks back when we were dating. Back when I naively believed family loyalty could cover a multitude of sins. By now, even Rachel's mother had started noticing the changes. At Sunday dinner, while Rachel was in the kitchen getting dessert, her mother, Diane, leaned toward me and whispered, "Is everything all right between you two?" I hesitated. Why? She's different lately. Distant. And spending a lot of time with people she never mentions by name. I swallowed hard. Like who? Diane shook her head. She won't say. But I'm not blind. Neither was I anymore. The final straw came 3 days later. Rachel was supposedly attending a curriculum workshop in the city. She'd left early, dressed like she was going to a cocktail party, not an academic seminar, silk blouse, tailored slacks, heels too high for a conference hall. I had an old friend, Evan, who worked in city security consulting. I called him. Can you pull camera footage from the Ashton Hills Marriott? I think Rachel's been using that place for meetings. Evan didn't ask questions. 2 days later, he sent over grainy but unmistakable stills. Rachel entering the lobby, arm in arm with a man. Same man each time. Dark suit, mid-40s, confident posture. And once, just once, a kiss. Not friendly, not familial, something else entirely. That night, I sat in the living room, staring at the frozen images on my laptop screen. Rachel came in, humming to herself, dropping her keys into the dish by the door. She leaned down to kiss my cheek. I didn't move. She paused. Everything okay? I looked at her, the woman I had trusted with my future, my dreams, my name. It's worse than I thought, I whispered. And in that moment, the last fragile piece of trust between us crumbled into dust. Part 3. In the morning, I stayed home alone under the pretense of running a routine check on the smart home system. Rachel didn't question it. Technology bored her, and she'd grown used to me handling everything from the router to the thermostat. She kissed my cheek absent-mindedly before leaving for work, already scrolling through her phone. The moment the door clicked shut, I moved. I accessed the router settings, something I rarely did unless the network was down. But today wasn't about maintenance. Today, I quietly uploaded a hidden program I had spent weeks preparing. It would log all Wi-Fi and Bluetooth traffic, every device connecting and disconnecting from our network. Phones, smartwatches, speakers, everything. Within minutes, the dashboard began to populate. Rachel's phone, of course. Her tablet. The TV. But late at night, long after I supposedly slept, the logs revealed her phone consistently pairing with the living room speaker and, inexplicably, the Xbox. She'd told me those evenings were spent preparing parent-teacher presentations. She wasn't preparing presentations. She was preparing rendezvous. That evening, Rachel announced she had an unscheduled parent-teacher conference. She smiled as she said it. Confident. Rehearsed. I nodded, acting as though I believed her. After she left, I activated the retrofitted speaker, a device I had modified to work as a concealed voice recorder. It had been silent for weeks, collecting nothing more than the hum of the air conditioner and the occasional creak of the floorboards. Until tonight, the recording captured Rachel and Daniel's voices clearly. Her breathless laughter, his low, coaxing tone. He sits at home and thinks I'm preparing the weekly presentation, Rachel whispered. Daniel chuckled. Tomorrow at 8 in the parking lot. We'll be together. No prying eyes. Every word was clear. Damning. The betrayal wasn't just emotional anymore. It was tactical, methodical, and it wasn't staying hidden any longer. The next morning, while Rachel was gone, I gathered the recordings and drove to Diane's house. Her mother greeted me at the door, cheerful at first, until she saw the serious look on my face and the envelope in my hand. We sat in her living room. I connected the speaker to her Bluetooth. My hands were steady. My heartbeat was not. The voices filled the room. Rachel's light, carefree laughter. Daniel's careful instructions. As the minutes passed, Diane's expression darkened. She folded her hands in her lap, her knuckles white. I suspected something was wrong, she said quietly. But I thought it was just stress. Long hours. The pressures of teaching. I never imagined. I played the entire recording. Diane leaned forward, elbows on her knees, staring at the floor as the weight of her daughter's duplicity settled in. We'll track every meeting, she said. Every lie. Together, we transcribed the tape. We marked dates, matching Rachel's excuses of unscheduled meetings and teacher retreats with the recordings. Every staff development day lined up with a secret rendezvous. Diane printed the metadata from the audio files. She drafted a chronological list of the hidden encounters. Her movements were mechanical, but her eyes burned with purpose. She used my silence, Diane said. She thought I would protect her no matter what. We prepared the evidence carefully, placing the documents and a thumb drive into a thick envelope. By evening, the hallway of our home became the tribunal. Diane stood beside me, the envelope in her hand. I stood silently behind her. The door opened. Rachel entered, juggling a stack of papers and her handbag. When she saw us, her smile faltered. There was something else in her eyes, panic. Mom? James. What's going on? Diane held out the envelope. Rachel, she said calmly. It's time you faced what you've done. Rachel's fingers trembled as she took the envelope. She flipped through the pages. The metadata. The list of dates. The transcripts. Her face drained of color. Please, that's not what it looks like. I can explain. Her words faltered under Diane's gaze and my unwavering silence. We've had enough, I said quietly. Rachel tried to speak. A sob caught in her throat. She backed against the wall, clutching the envelope to her chest like it could protect her from the truth. At that moment, there was a knock at the door. I had invited Daniel, telling him Rachel had something urgent to discuss. No details, just enough to lure him into the open. When he entered, he stopped short. His confident smirk vanished as his eyes met Diane's and mine. His gaze dropped to the envelope in Rachel's arms. He didn't say a word. The silence was heavier than any accusation. Without protest, without denial, he turned and walked out the door. Rachel collapsed into the nearest chair. The envelope slipped from her hands, its contents spilling across the floor. Diane placed a gentle but firm hand on my shoulder. Together, we stepped outside. The sky was darkening, the first stars appearing in the clear evening sky. Behind us, the first wail of a siren broke the stillness. A neighbor must have overheard Rachel's sobbing or our earlier conversation. The police weren't coming for us. They were coming for the truth. Diane and I stood at the edge of the lawn. The air was cool. For the first time in months, I felt it fill my lungs fully. "We're stronger together," I said softly. Diane nodded. The night had fallen silent again, but nothing would ever be the same. The betrayal that had nearly destroyed us had become the forge for something stronger. And the reckoning had only just begun. Part 4. In the weeks after the confrontation, Rachel believed the storm had passed. She mistook my silence for surrender. She moved carefully, speaking sweetly, offering to handle bills and errands, as if surface gestures could patch over what had already rotted beneath. I kept up appearances. I praised her business acumen at dinners. I complimented her latest endeavor, the so-called partnership she and her cousin Nathan had launched, Prime Core Athletics, a boutique fitness startup. Supposedly an exciting new venture that would supplement our income. Behind closed doors, I investigated. The credit reports came first. 3 credit lines, 2 personal loans, a home equity line, all opened in my name, forged signatures, and falsified income statements. Close to $180,000 in total debt. Where had the money gone? Into Prime Core's accounts registered solely to Nathan and Rachel. Our joint savings had been drained. She hadn't just betrayed me emotionally. She'd gutted me financially. But she wasn't done. She planned a celebration. A high-profile event pitched as both our milestone wedding anniversary and the official launch of Prime Core. She encouraged me to invite business contacts. "Let them see how well we're doing," she said. I agreed, smiling. "Let's show them." She thought I'd accepted her narrative. She thought her story still controlled the room. She had no idea. I offered to help prepare the event materials, the slide deck, the budget displays, even the music playlist. She gave me full access, thinking I was supportive. I used it to embed the evidence. The night of the gala arrived. The Marriott ballroom glittered with chandeliers and polished silver. Rachel wore the navy blue gown I'd given her years ago. Nathan stood nearby, shaking hands, pretending to be a visionary entrepreneur. Guests filled the tables, my colleagues, Rachel's friends, potential investors. Even a few local media reps, lured by promises of a business feature. Rachel took the stage at 7:30 sharp. "Tonight, we celebrate family, innovation, and the bright future of Prime Core Athletics. And none of this would be possible without my incredible husband, James." She gestured toward me. His belief in me kept us going. The room applauded. I rose, smiled, nodded, then walked to the AV station. The technician was ready for the final slide deck. Rachel's version. Instead, I handed him a new USB drive. Rachel asked for last-minute updates. I said smoothly. "No questions." He swapped the files. Lights dimmed. The screen glowed. The first slides matched Rachel's script, mission statements, growth projections, flattering photos. Then the next slide froze the room. Prime Core bank account, ending 8421. Owner, Nathan Walker. Co-signer, James Holloway, forged signature. Gasps rippled across the room. Rachel stiffened. Nathan paled. Next slide. Screenshots of text messages between Rachel and Nathan. "We'll move the next loan through the home equity line. He won't notice. He trusts you." Then, PDF images of the forged credit lines. Bank transfers. Digital fingerprints linking every fraudulent move to their devices and email addresses. Finally, a QR code appeared. Phones flashed across the room as guests scanned it. The link led to a secure folder containing every piece of evidence. Rachel's breath quickened. This can't. "It's exactly what it looks like," I said quietly. Nathan tried to rush the stage, but 2 of my business partners intercepted him. They had seen the evidence. They wouldn't let him escape. I didn't wait for the fallout. As the crowd erupted into murmurs and the first angry voices rose, I walked calmly to the side exit. Outside, a black sedan waited. Diane sat inside as planned. She'd reviewed the evidence with me. She understood what was at stake. As the driver pulled away, I looked back once. Rachel stood frozen, papers slipping from her hands. Nathan struggled against the grip of security. The chandelier light glittered off the screen, still showing their crimes. No shouting, no tears, no drama, just the quiet, methodical end of their deception, and the beginning of my next move. Part 5. The morning after the gala, I woke at 4:45 a.m. It wasn't insomnia. It wasn't grief. My body simply rose with the discipline I had carved into it. The apartment was bare. A mattress, a steel chair, a desk pushed against the wall. The windows showed only the dull orange glow of streetlights. No framed photographs. No souvenirs of a past life. I stripped the sheets from the bed, folded them neatly, and placed them in the laundry basket. Then came the cold shower. A ritual now. The sharp bite of water was cleaner than any comfort. By 5:15, I was at the gym. Not a luxury fitness center. The kind where treadmills lined up like showpieces and influencers posed with perfect lighting. No, this was an industrial gym on the edge of town where steel clanged and the air smelled of rust and sweat. Deadlifts, squats, weighted carries. Each lift, each repetition, served the same purpose, reminder and reconstruction. Hope was for fools. Discipline was real. By 7, I returned to my apartment. Protein shake, black coffee, then work. I'd picked up consulting contracts, supply chain diagnostics, logistics audits. Rebuilding finances took relentless focus. I wanted no favors, no partnerships, no shortcuts. In the evenings, while most people collapsed into their couches or scrolled through endless feeds of meaningless validation, I studied. Accounting, law, contracts. I dissected every financial document from my past life, not to grieve it, but to ensure it never happened again. The ache never came for Rachel. It came for the man I used to be. The man who once believed love and trust were foundations, not weapons. I kept my distance from most people, but not from Diane. Diane had cut Rachel off completely. She sold her house, moved out of town, started working part-time in a bookstore. Her texts were brief. Updates. No emotion. She understood that sentiment had become a liability. Reputation ruined. Lawsuits pending. Nathan declared bankruptcy. Rachel's employment terminated. Bankruptcy filings imminent. I answered only with acknowledgement. No sympathy. No shared sorrow. The past was ash. It was late autumn when the final betrayal surfaced. It began as a credit monitoring alert. A dormant business account, one I thought I had closed during the divorce, had been reactivated. The activity didn't match Rachel or Nathan's patterns. Curious, I traced the digital signatures. David, the friend who'd stood by me during the early days, who had brought coffee while I dug through paperwork, who had told me, "Whatever you need, I've got you." He hadn't just been helping me. He had been helping them. During those long nights when I believed I was securing my finances, he had been quietly feeding updates to Rachel and Nathan, delaying my decisions, steering me toward legal dead ends. A mole, hidden in plain sight. I gathered the evidence methodically. Login histories, IP addresses, email recoveries, the trails he thought he had covered. We met at a neutral co-working space. No emotional scenes. Just two men at a table beneath the sterile hum of fluorescent lights. "I'm glad you reached out," David said cautiously. "I was worried you'd cut me off after everything." I did. This is business. I slid the folder across the table. Bank statements, access logs, correspondence records. His face drained of color. "James, stop." He swallowed. "It wasn't what you think. It was exactly what I think." His shoulders sagged. "I only wanted to keep options open. Nathan promised it would all balance out. Rachel said you'd." I said stop. I stood, adjusted my jacket, looked down at him. "You already said enough." I walked away without a backward glance. That night, the apartment was darker than usual. The city beyond the window pulsed with the cold indifference of streetlights and distant sirens. I didn't mourn. I didn't rage. I reviewed the day's ledger. Income, expenses, savings. No emotion, just control. A man is not rebuilt through forgiveness. He is reforged through discipline and purpose. As the night deepened, I stood by the window, watching the endless motion of a world that had moved on. They thought betrayal would end me. They mistook the fall for the end. I rose, forged by fire, unbreakable. The end.